That works.
All right, cool. I think we're good to go. So this is pretty exciting stuff. For those of you that are in the wholesale business and follow us, first of all, if you're watching the replay, do me a favor, comment below where you're calling in from. There's some people all over the country calling in for today's call. So let us know where you're calling in from in the comments below, and we will shout you out if you're watching live. Want to welcome good buddy of mine. I've known George for years. Premier wholesaler in the Philadelphia area. I don't even know. We could be talking about other markets at this point. I haven't talked to you in a while, George. But wanted to bring George on to talk about the game of wholesale, right? Wholesaling, wholesaling, figuring out how to build their business and build up, some leverage if you guys have some small teams and you're trying to grow bigger. Like I said, George has been highly successful at this for years. And I want to dig deep into what else you got going on, George. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on in your life.
Sure. Let's see. So it's been a little while. Still wholesaling. Let's see. Still live in the Philadelphia area. I moved to Montgomery County. I live in North now. I bought a house. So no more ridiculous high rise overlooking Center City for an astronomical amount of money. But same old GB. Just trying to stay. Is this too much glare with this thing?
No.
There? Can you see this?
We have opposite glare. You have back of the head glare, and I have the sun's in my face.
I don't have blinds. I've been living here for a year. I haven't bought blinds yet. So like if I need to cover the light, I just, put up a blanket, which I'll do now.
There's an automatic, there's a filter on here that just makes you look better.
Really?
It's going to kick in here shortly.
Is that what Snapchat does?
You'll notice it right away. It'll take away all your blemishes.
All right.
So,
wholesale company is still growing. Obviously we're in a pretty uncertain time, but 2018, what year is this? This is 2020. 2018, we did 2 million in revenue. 2019, we did 3. I thought we were going to do like 3.5 or 4, which I can get into kind of what happened and what the breakdowns were if you want.
Yeah.
And then this year we were, depending on how you look at cash projections and use seasonality and blah, 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 which is complicated for wholesaling. And it's also frankly complicated for a company like mine that's grown so much in a short period of time and hasn't been around for, 20 years. It looked like we were going to do 4-ish, maybe, and maybe more. I thought we were going to do 3.8 to 5. I was hoping to do closer to 5. And then, COVID happened relatively suddenly. So, that put a significant wrench in a lot of our recruiting efforts and things. It's a wrench. A wrench is a wrench, right? So,
sure.
Not sure how this year is going to end up. I think it's still going to be a good year. But, the nature of how my operation is structured overall is advantageous for something like this happening, i.e., I don't have a tremendous amount of people and equipment-based overhead, So, just trying to make good decisions and keep growing through this whole thing, and probably buy some shit as well. Yeah.
They say that adversity is what really gets you to focus on the things that you probably should have been doing correctly all along, right? Like these times of adversity hit us, and we're like, oh shit, we got to make a change. What are the things that maybe you have changed or you've noticed and you've taken notice of? Because let's face it, like in a hot market, everybody's a genius, everybody's printing checks, everybody's a guru, everybody's on top of the world. And then when hard times hit, you got to duck and jive, you got to do things differently. But some of those things are, let's be honest, shit you should have been doing all along, right? Like I know we're having that.
Absolutely.
Any of that stuff like pop out at you right away?
One of the things I realized pretty quickly was, I've shared that viewpoint for a while and been trying to make sure, okay, like I'm in an up market. How much of me being successful is due to me being in an up market versus to me being good at it? Turns out a lot of it is because I'm good at it and I have a great team and things like that. But the up market is substantial. It it can erase a lot of your mistakes and turn, it can turn a real mistake into, oh, I still made 5-10 grand.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not always easy to learn from things like that. I think, I know a lot of people have been washed out of the market so far, or at least like maybe they haven't been washed out, but they've been, they decrease their budgets, or they're holding their cards and they're scared. But I mean, dude, like it all comes down to what your numbers are, and like what your numbers are if you adjust them. How much are my numbers due to me getting lucky? Is it just this one person that's a really good performer? Like things like that. Like all of those things are like extremely important. So like if you didn't know your numbers before this and now you have to get to know them, like you're probably going to see some things you don't like. Like
exactly.
I've been through a lot of ups and downs in my business. By no means has it been a smooth ride. Like I've almost run out of money, I think 2, maybe 3 times, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
This is not one of them. I'm fucking doing great. Like, this is great. Well, not great, but
yeah.
Like
relatively
all things considered, yeah. I'm, lessons learned from that. But, like I've been forced to have hard looks in the mirror and see where I'm spending money on things before. Actually, frankly, on that note, more recent, like some of the issues with last year and moving into this year were all technology tracking related and frankly continue to be a little bit.
Yeah.
But, since this happened, it was like, all right, like, let me really look at like as much actionable intelligence as I have now to see, okay, what am I spending money on data wise? And like, how much of it is generating, am I actually getting something from? Because some of it, like I know that I'm not going to know whether I'm making money from it for another 3 to 6 months, which is fine usually. But now it's like, okay, it's more than likely I'm going to be burning, some amount of money every month while I keep my machine on. And it's optional for me to burn money. I'm doing it not on purpose, but I'm knowingly burning money right now, and will for a short period of time.
Talk about that a little bit more. I mean, you don't have to get into like specific detail, but I think that's an important thing to realize. Like, is that in a business, a real functioning live business, you can't just stop spending money, right? Like, you still have to, spend money to make it work. So, what are some of those things that like they're just non-negotiables for you? That whether the bills get paid, you have to spend.
Marketing. I mean, marketing is for me one of the easiest things for me to down-regulate if I need to. It's like my marketing budget is more than my my overhead, like my static overhead, by a significant amount.
Yeah.
Not necessarily more than the commissions that I pay, like to salespeople and bonuses and performance-based things, but in terms of how much is my rent, how much is my attorney retainers, and things that I never thought that I would have. Marketing is by far
number one
by far greater.
Yeah.
And many of the things that I spend money on marketing are optional, or they're adjustable, like pretty significantly. So like for instance, late last year I started buying leads. I've never really bought leads before. Like once or twice I bought leads, and I spent $30,000 a month buying leads, I think. Massive loss. I should have never done that.
Yeah.
I went all in on it. I saw a couple ones that looked promising. I'm like, all right, I'll buy all these ones of these I can get. So, I cut my buying leads budget down from unlimited to I think $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And even then, like, I constantly have to go to these fucking websites and be like, okay, half the leads you guys sent me were trash. Give me my money back. And it's a real hassle.
Job asking for the refunds and that bullshit.
Yeah, and like there's like a week-long expiration thing, and like I look at it once every 6 weeks. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, well, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I'll spend $50,000 a month on your sites if I'm making money for it. But if I got to fucking sit down and go back and look at every single lead that you push in every 3 days, like, you can kiss my ass, right?
No, that's so true. I think it's important. I mean, back in like 17 and 18, I'm going to say 18, mid-year, we were spending 20, 30 grand a month with a site that I won't name, but it's just like that. 7-day recourse for leads that don't work out. It's like, dude, I'm dropping 20.
You know
what I mean? I'm asking you for $1,000 in refunds. I'm not going to fucking do it. Like, I'm not going to keep following up on it. So
different people's business models are different people's business models. Really. But, going back to knowing your numbers. So also my 3 tips before I forget to talk about all 3 of them are.
Yeah. And while George is looking those up, guys, make sure you put your questions in below. We're going to do a little Q&A at the end of this. We might even let somebody hop on live and let George answer some questions for you.
I love doing that.
That would be cool. I think that'd be cool.
My hair looks nicer than this. I haven't had a haircut in 3 or 4 weeks.
Dude, I'm shaggy. Are you kidding me?
You look great, Joe. Is someone cutting your hair? The sides of it look trimmed and shit. I'm fucking dark ass.
It never gets old when you say that, Nasty.
I
But
know.
yeah, guys, post below where your questions. Post in where you're calling from as well. I'd love to know what market you guys are working in, and if you're in the wholesale business as well, it'd be cool. So George, what is that? What is the title of this thing? Hold on, let me go back.
3 simple tips.
3 simple tips to get ahead with the 7-figure wholesaler. So.
Yeah. Also, the revenue is not total amount of real estate that we sold. It's actual revenue from wholesale deals. Which is discounted significantly from the actual gross spreads. We have a lot of cost of goods sold things that come out on the HUD that don't count for a revenue.
Yeah.
Which, some people don't count those, some people don't. There's obviously no standard for wholesaling, but
I think it's a good asterisk, right? Because you got people that say we do 4 or 5 million a year, and you're counting the freaking house sale. When you sell a house for 100 grand, you make 3,000. That's not 100,000 revenue.
Let's just be honest. There's a lot of people that are lying to themselves and everybody around them in this business.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Careful who you take advice from. Maybe that's number 4 on wholesale.
That could be the bonus tip today.
First tip is know the right numbers for your business.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is always be marketing. And the third is treat buyers like a commodity. I was going to say treat them like shit, but you should treat them like a commodity. And number 4 is be careful who you take advice from.
Let's start with the top one. Know your numbers. You're obviously talking about KPIs, key performance indicator numbers.
So know your right numbers, right?
Yeah.
So when I say the right numbers, like a lot of people are like, they get caught up in a few numbers that I hear a lot, which are how much do you make per deal?
Mm-hmm.
Or like how much money did you make this year, or what your revenue is, things like that. Like those things matter, but they don't matter as much as other things. So for instance, one of the biggest metrics for me is dollar per appointment issued, which is the net amount of revenue that is generated to the company per in-house appointment, like to make an offer that one of my salespeople get. Right.
That's high level. So tell people how did you get to that?
Not really that high level. It's actually a very simple thing, but it's very important.
Okay.
You take the amount of revenue your salesperson got and divide it by the number of appointments they got.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you can get into close rate, but then it's like, okay, how many of these things settle? What's this guy's average assignment fee? Does one guy do bigger deals than the other one? Things like that. It all just factors into the dollar per appointment. So company-wide, our DPA, whatever, last year was like 5,000, over the whole company. So that means every time a salesperson of mine goes into a house, the company gets $5,000 of revenue. This year was up by like 10-20%. And our number of appointments were up by like 50%. It was tremendous. Really good.
Year to date?
Really good news. What?
That's year to date, 50%?
Yeah. So Jan, Feb, and beginning of March, all of our numbers were up significantly. Like we were having a fucking blown away record year. And
what do you attribute that to? What do you attribute that difference in appointments?
Management of call center people was the number one. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes in the way that I was supervising and managing my my call center, or like my inside sales, like folks, like appointment setters, whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
And there was staffing issues and like training issues, and I just didn't keep an eye on it as much as I should have, because like we were still up market, we're still profitable. Wholesaling is a great business. Like you talk to other people that own businesses and they're like, what are your net margins? Like they're
exactly.
You make more than 3% net on your things. And you're like, yeah, I make more than 3. Like 3, I'd be out of business if I made one fucking mistake.
You must be talking to rehabbers. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hired a new manager, moved some people around into positions that they probably should have been in the first place. This person should be in sales, like whatever. And fucking skyrocketed. And, at first it was like, okay, we were getting all these more appointments. Like, are they trash? Like, are we just setting bullshit? Turned out we weren't. All the metrics were the same, actually a little bit higher than they should have been. I was expecting to have just for random numbers, I was expecting to have double the number of appointments, but have all the other metrics drop by like 5 or 10%. But actually all the other ones went up with the increase of appointments, which is interesting. Small sample size. I have 2 main outside sales reps. So some of it could be, this guy's having a better day or whatever, but with enough of a time span, it's not just that. But anyway, the right numbers is how much do I get per appointment? But like, what does that ultimately matter if you don't know your other numbers, right? What if it costs you $10,000 to get an appointment? So, you know, how much revenue do you get per appointment? How much advertising spend do you need to get an appointment? What are your other soft costs? And ultimately, is this profitable or not? So like, you know, we don't run leads in Darby as an example. We don't run leads in a bunch of neighborhoods in Philly that everybody else runs leads in and things like that. Cause you know, over the course of time, they're not profitable, right? Or they're like, you know, we've eliminated them from our mail and things like that.
I think that right there, that takeaway, guys, like if you listen to the last 20 seconds, like that right there is one of the biggest takeaways that most people don't do, right? They just spam the market. They don't pay attention to what they're best at. And like, I think for you, that's a big differentiator between you and your competition, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so also some context. So like, you know, most people need to run 10 or 20 seller appointments to get one deal. We close at a little bit over 35%. We're right around 35% on average. So we run 3 leads to get one deal. And then, you know, we close some of them and whatever. Our average assignment fee is like $25K. It's pretty high. It's going to drop now because, you know, we had some issues with buyers and things like that with the COVID thing. But it costs me $1,000 in advertising to get it for one appointment, just to have a sales guy face-to-face with somebody that's qualified and like meets a couple indicators. Like it costs me actually over $1,000, especially depending on lead source. So, you know, like that's a lot of money. Like back in the day, I heard people say that it used to cost them $1,000 for a deal. But, you know, we're getting 5,000 on average, but like these are really valuable appointments. So like I'm not giving these qualified appointments to like scrubs, right? Like my salespeople are fucking excellent, like the best in business. Like they train themselves. Like we do some training, but they're really good. You know, we follow.
What do you think makes them stand out? What do you think makes them the best in the business? Where you're recruiting them from, the training you give them?
So one guy actually came to me a couple years ago and was like, "Hey, you know, I'm having trouble doing well in real estate. Like, can you help me out?" I was like, "Yeah, you know, whatever." I think I blew him off at first, and then he didn't go away, which worked for everybody, frankly.
That makes a good sales guy, by the way.
Yeah. And then the other guy was the very first appointment setter that we hired and made it past a week or two, you know, was promoted. He's also excellent. That was also, I think, a couple of years ago. So there are indications for what we do, which is short cycle in-home sales. Like there are some personality indicators for people that are likely to be successful at this, or at least increase the odds. Because like the other thing is, dude, you still got to have it. You know what I mean? You gotta want to work hard, be money motivated. You have to be likable, you know, interested in learning. Like there's so many other factors to it than just like, okay, I personality test somebody and everybody that fits this is going to be a rock star. Like it's not that simple. I do DISC everybody, like the DISC DISC test. There's 3 personality types from that are good for what we do. It's Persuader, Dynamo, and Results Oriented, which are all high D, high I in varying numbers. Both of those will be over the midline for all 3 of those. I would not hire an outside sales rep or anyone for sales that is not one of those 3 profiles. Both of my guys are results oriented. You know, take that for what you will, which is much higher D, a little bit of a lower I, but still both over the midline. But these are, you know, dominant, personable guys that want you to make a decision on something right now, and like aren't afraid to tell you, which is good. But yeah, you know, like going back to the knowing your numbers thing, like how much do all those things cost you, and is it profitable? Are you wasting money on this? Personable guys that want you to make it. Do you think that something is profitable, but it's really not? Like you got to know that shit. Like what are you spending on marketing? How much does it cost you for a mail piece? Well, what about your data? How much does your data cost? Is it really profitable? Like, are you chasing some deal that you did 2 or 3 years ago that you're never going to duplicate in some super high-end neighborhood? You know what I mean? Like I've done that. Like I'm fucking sending mail to Gladwin. I'm sending mail to maybe Haddonfield or whatever, or whatever. Like you did one deal there 5 years ago, you made 20 grand and you spent 30 grand in fucking marketing since then, trying to do another one. Like, chill. But you know, dude, you know me, I'm fucking down the rabbit hole viciously on data. Like we have a SQL database and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, know your numbers is the big one.
I love it. I love it. Again, guys, if you're watching this, two things: post where you're at, what market you're in. Somebody asked the question, what market is George in? Philadelphia only still, right, George?
We're in Philly and the surrounding 4 suburban counties.
Okay.
Actually, in February, I started mailing northern Delaware and a couple zip codes in New Jersey, which I've since stopped doing because of the coronavirus things. Like entering a new market, even though it's across the river for me, you need new.
It's like the Great Wall of China.
It's what's that?
I said it's like the Great Wall of China. It feels like.
There's just there's like I need all these new vendors and stuff. It's not as straightforward as
well.
Right. Yeah, the idea was to do Delaware and New Jersey as test markets to see lessons learned for going to a new territory. And then, whenever the call center is a little bit more scaled, which has sort of been like a big focus of mine recently, North Jersey, Maryland, or now Ohio, I'm kind of chewing on as well, like Columbus.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So you're looking for external markets, and right now, still doubling down on the existing markets you're in. What was number 2? What's the number 2? Our number 2 tip?
Always be marketing. Like, don't stop. Don't be afraid. Don't wait until your next check to do the marketing. Just always have it on. Mm-hmm. Have a plan. Be consistent. Understand that the majority of people that are going to turn into transactions for you are not going to be one-hit wonders where you send one mail piece one time and you get lucky. That happens. That does happen. But if you're fucking like relying on that or trying to base a business off of that, you're making the wrong move. This is a marketing-based business. It's a direct response, based business. If you're not knocking on doors, making phone calls, sending mail, or doing some type of internet advertising or fucking whatever, even if it's TV, whatever, you're fucking up. Like you're not going to be built like whatever you spend on marketing today is what's feeding your lifestyle or whatever 3 or 4 months from now. Don't ever stop.
And number 2 is so related to number 1, right? Because you're not getting the good data, guys, if you're not consistent. That's the one biggest challenge people have with marketing. They test something out. They do it for a week or 2. Oh, shit, I don't have any deals. Let me stop. Let me try something different. You can't have consistent, predictable results if you're not continuing to push the marketing each and every week. And so you have to try something out for. I mean, what do you try a minimum of what before you finally kind of duck out and say this isn't working or I should try something different?
That's a good question. It depends. So like mail is a little bit of a different animal because you have to do all the data stuff. You have to say, okay, this is who I'm marketing to. And then you have to send the piece and then it's got to get in the mail and then people have to call, there's a burn off for that. You know what I mean? And like tracking mail is a fucking nightmare, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, I have like 50 phone numbers or 40 phone numbers and I'm still not very good at it.
We gave up, truthfully. We gave up tracking direct mail like maybe a year or 2 ago because we had 100 phone numbers. Every piece that went out was tracked to a number. And then I could track it to that location. I'm not quite as tuned into the analytics as you are. I'm more of a high level guy, but the mail thing was really, really difficult to get down to the nitty-gritty.
Mail analytics is high level. What do you spend on mail?
What do we spend on mail?
Right. Therefore, that's high level. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So Podio, which you're still on Podio?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I fucking hate Podio now. I had a nightmare with a programmer a year ago. We're still reeling from it. I'm switching to Salesforce. Hopefully, by God, we'll finally go fucking live in the next month. But that'll do all the tracking of all the mail pieces and things like that. But interestingly enough, like you don't want to track too granular of an area on mail because it can get insane. Like, trust me, look at my Excel history. You can go down, it can be great. But like I differentiate between the city and the suburbs geographically. And recently I've been lumping in some suburbs that are very similar to the city in with my city analytics, i.e., like Norristown, places like that. Or maybe, I don't know what the New Jersey examples would be as much, but they're different markets, right?
Yeah.
Like what works here, what works there. Like my response rate in Philly is way higher than what it is in the suburbs, but the suburbs ones are like typically higher value transactions.
Way better deals. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like over broad strokes. So they're still really profitable, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more risk, but yeah, like tracking your mail is very hard. But to answer your question, how soon do you know, like with buying leads, like in the way our thing is structured, like I know whether I'm getting appointments, and because all of our appointments meet certain criteria, I know how much they should cost me per lead source. And even if I'm not getting transactions from it, if I'm still getting appointments from it, I know eventually I will get transactions from it and things like that. So like buying leads, you can tell within a couple weeks or a month. Mail, it takes a few months.
Yeah.
But you need a sample size. Like if you're a one-man band, like you cannot make that decision over 3 phone calls. You just can't do that. Right. Like, like when I'm looking at stuff like that, like I'm looking at like dozens or sometimes hundreds of opportunities, you know what I mean? And like, I can see the statistics, and then going back to knowing your numbers, like how much does it end up costing you? Like maybe you're not getting any appointments from something, you're not getting any deals, but how much do appointments cost you? And how many appointments have you been to? Have you reasonably been to enough appointments where you can say, okay, something here is not working? You know what I mean? Like you have to know that shit.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. We usually run, mail, we'll test it out for at least 4 to 6 weeks, maybe more. And again, people make so many emotional decisions. They're like, these couple calls came in and they didn't work out in my favor. Well, you don't know that the stuff that happens next week off the same exact campaign isn't going to be a totally different result. The sales guy had a bad day. His screen door broke on the way to work. Like, who knows? Like having the ability for a long-term to analyze those numbers long-term, you need to have a couple weeks data to be able to make that decision, and then double down or remove it. But you got to do it consistently. Too much emotion in it. Shannon says Salesforce is a high-level CRM, guys. Very, very not only expensive, super, super detail-oriented. I don't know that many guys in this business using it, but it's definitely something I think you get to that 3-4 million mark, you got to start getting a little bit more calculated. I was literally just on a call before this talking to someone to organize our call center, back office, all this stuff, right? Because it's difficult when you have a lot of data points and you have to manage them. But
like, you know what, Joe? Like, do you know what I fucking spent on Podio programming?
I spent over $100,000, dude. I know, and I stopped using it.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And then it still has all these mistakes to it. And then when I look back, I'm like, Salesforce, by the way, like though the CRM is extremely expensive and the implementation is expensive, and so is any other service that you want for it, like it's so easy to use. You don't need like some programmer to do shit for you. So like when I look at it like that, I'm like, oh, this should actually be around the same amount of money, if not like a net savings, like long term. And plus, like it's not going to fuck up all your shit. Like Podio was deleting the second phone number from our leads for like 6 months. I didn't know. It was literally just throwing things in the trash. It was just like, how the fuck, right? So and like, so like, yes, that like those Salesforce is expensive. To your point, like if you're running like a larger business than a couple of people, like if you're not, if you're keeping track of like you and your buddy's activity, like you don't really need that shit. But if you're running a company, like the mistakes that your CRM costs you are worth an upgrade to a better system.
100%.
Like period.
100%. Yeah. Look, at the very early stages, guys, you can do this business with a notepad and a pen, but that's not how we start to scale. It's not how we start to build teams and manage them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's 2020. Yeah.
So a couple more. Anybody bring questions? Shannon said you have to be a fucking engineer like Joe McCall to like Podio. That's pretty funny. No, I mean, look.
It sucks. It's just cheap. That's the reason that real estate investors use it, is because they defer to things that are cheap. It's not because it's good.
It's cheap. It's broken all the time. APIs won't connect. I found myself paying thousands a month to have an engineer create buttons that already existed and didn't even know where the hell they were.
What are you using now?
More and more complicated. I don't even want to say what I'm using because I'm about ready to dump it. I think real estate, and I'm not saying that to not hide it from you, but the owner of the company, I know him well, and I don't want to badmouth him. But I don't think there's a good real estate CRM on the freaking market. I mean, we've so many times.
The thing is, like, everyone's business is so different. Like, I'm hugely like step selling, in-home sales oriented, and I think you've always had quite a large construction business, which is like a totally different thing than what I do.
Yeah.
Like the most complicated stuff that I get into is like the operations department of like moving sellers and like clearing title and things like that. You know what I mean? A lot of the rest of it is sales metrics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like if you're running a significant or a sophisticated business in any form and you're trying to use something out of the box,
it's hard.
You're asking for trouble, man.
It's nearly impossible. And the problem with the out of the box stuff is you don't have the key. You don't have the ability to modify it. There's nothing. You have to start moving your business around the capabilities of the system instead of the other way around. The system should follow you. So I agree with the Salesforce thing, but guys, again, don't if you're flipping you're wholesaling 3 or 4 deals a year, don't even think about looking at Salesforce. It's going to just overwhelm the hell out of you.
It's insanely expensive.
Your scaling a business might be a different scenario. Who do we got in the wholesale game, guys? Raise your hand. Chime in. If we take the brave one, any one of the brave ones want to hop on a call with your boy GB here. Brian said with my boy GB.
What's up, Brian?
So Brian, Carmen, what's up? Shannon, what's up? Who else we got on here? Got a bunch of people. Devin, I don't know if Devin's still in the call, but what's up, Devin? So guys, if you want to talk high level wholesale, George has got looks like I think he has one more tip to share with us, but love to get one of you guys on here live and answer your questions live. It's so much more fun and interactive that way. So what's number 3 tip, George?
Treat buyers like a commodity as opposed to like a friend or the only guy with money. Like this is more so targeted towards newer people in the business.
Yeah.
But, I see a lot of people that are like, hey, I've got like 3 buyers. And if those 3 buyers don't buy it, like I'm kind of fucked.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, well, like, are they good buyers? And they're like, they say yes. And they're like, yeah, they bought XYZ for me for this amount of money. And I'm like, you could have sold that for 10, 20 grand more than that guy gave you. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then like, when I'm like, hey, I'll sell all your deals for you, but like, I want this big fat percentage. You don't have to do anything. They're like, oh, what about that huge percent? I'm like, you would have made double the amount of money.
Yeah.
Are you fucking, again, know your numbers, right? Like, what are you actually making, right?
Tip number 5, keep your ego in check. I love that, man. I mean, because if you're doing 25 on average, we're doing
a little bit,
Yeah. I mean, some guys are doing 3, 4, 5 grand on a deal, and then they don't want a JV when your average deal is 25 grand. It's like, do you realize that if we go 50-50, you're going to double your income? But they want to control the whole thing, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, I get it.
So how do you treat your buyers like a commodity? I mean, how do you offer the opportunity to create better deal flow with more buyers? How does that work?
Like, the biggest thing is just understanding that the guy in front of you that has money is not the only person out there that has money. And the only thing that matters about him is what he's willing to pay you. Nothing else. I mean, well, is the transaction going to be easy? Is it cash and not a loan? There's some things like that. Like, is he going to try to renegotiate with me at the table? Like, there's some things like that go into it for sure. But like, you want to expose your deal to as many people as possible, have as many people see it as possible, and have all of them make offers, and then highest and best everybody so that you can get the most amount of money, versus doing it like the reverse wholesale way, which, like, I don't know who the fuck came up with that, but they're a retard. It
wasn't me, dude. Wasn't me.
That is one of the biggest pieces of bad advice that I see people using like ever.
Yeah.
Like,
listen, you can reverse engineer a deal, guys, but just do it by knowing the market where there's a lot of buyers. It doesn't mean reverse engineer it for one person, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, unless that one person is you and you're going to buy it, right? That's a different story.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's a lot, like, even in an environment like this, like, there's still a lot of people out there that are looking to buy deals. Like, just because one guy is like, no, you need to give me this deal for $0 and I need it for free, like, doesn't mean that your deal is worthless. Just like, ask somebody else, right? Like, put your property in the MLS, send it out with somebody that's got like a giant buyers list like me or you or whatever. Like, just understand that, like, just because one guy's not buying or because one guy tells you to fuck yourself doesn't mean that your deal is shit. You just need to show it to more people, right? You
just kind of glazed up, because it's like second nature to us, right? But for so many people, I say to them, put your deal on the MLS. Oh my God, what do you mean? I don't understand. Like, how could I do? Guys, like, find a partner, find someone with a license. There's so much opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, at least if you use Bright MLS, which is between DC and I think New York, or DC and here, it says it in the rules. You can fucking list your deal on the MLS.
Equitable interest.
Some other places are like not okay with it, or like there's some like laws or whatever, but like not here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not here. You get your contract to say that you have equitable interest and you have the right to market the property and put it on the MLS. That's it. That's your equitable interest, guys. You can literally take that, put it on the MLS, show your deal to 1 million people. And I think it's about, I'm not going to say we don't work with the same buyers, because we do. Like, I feel like over the last decade plus.
Oh, why? But they're good buyers. They pay good money. They earned that spot. It wasn't just because I fucking knew them in high school.
Exactly, but also it's a wide net, and then you end up filtering it down to the same people, but the net's wide. I think so many people, like, I think to your point earlier, have the same 3 buyers and they're like, oh, it's not a deal. All right, let me cancel it. Like, guys, you got to give yourself an opportunity. You still got to cast that net, right? Brian's saying he might want to join. Let's see, Matt, guys, if you want to join here live, we're going to do a couple more minutes. If you want to hop on live, go ahead and hit that link and we'll give you access and we'll answer your wholesale questions live. So cast the big net, dial it into the right buyer, and most importantly, look at the spread. Guys, you can't be doing favors for friends and losing $10,000 on a deal. For a lot of you, $10,000 could be your whole month. Spread George is making, is he double closing?
Nope.
No double closes, especially in Philly.
Three ever. They suck.
Yeah.
Sucks.
And just to speak to that for a second, look, 4 or 5 years ago, people double closed all the time because wholesale was taboo. If you got caught making a $5,000 spread, like there was something wrong with that. Nowadays, guys, George, you can speak to this, but most investor buyers they're finding all their deals through guys.
If I do a $5,000 deal, I lose money. I don't want to do any $5,000 deal.
Yeah, my point is though, any type of deal like nowadays, you can pull a $20,000 or $30,000 wholesale assignment, and people are used to paying that. That's almost like the cost of doing business nowadays.
Yep.
Wholesalers are able to list on Bright. So Kim, your question is, are wholesalers able to list on Bright? Yes, through a realtor. They're not licensed realtors, but it is legal to put a wholesale deal on Bright with equitable interest if done the proper way. 100%. No legal advice being given here, by the way.
No. Go to the info section on Bright. There's like a big button that says info. Type in the word equitable, and then it shows up with a bunch of like information about it, how to do it, how not to, stuff like that. It's pretty straightforward.
Just as a side tip, I like to add this on, especially because I think Kim's a licensed agent. I'm not sure. Guys, I take the screenshot of how it describes you being allowed to do the equitable interest, and I include that as an attachment on the MLS. So when you get your broker, buyer, agent that's calling you for the deal, and that you don't know how to put that deal together with them, or they have questions about how it all works, look, I included the attachment so you can see. It's an equitable interest assignment deal, and we're looking for cash buyers only. So. With your cash deals, by the way, you can sell retail deals on the MLS and still make a wholesale fee. That's the 201 class that we're going to teach next week, though. Cool. So George, anything else you want to add? Anything we didn't cover?
Yeah. Anybody got Q&A? I like Q&A.
I love Q&A too. So wholesalers are able to list. Guys, ask your questions. We got 23 people just on Facebook, but right now we're live on YouTube. We're live on Periscope. I haven't used Periscope in years.
Periscope. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a thing. Our boy Matt, who's on the call here, told me that Periscope links up with Twitter, apparently. I don't know how if that's a thing.
They probably own it.
But I'm not on Twitter either, so I figured connect to Periscope and see. Any other questions, guys? We'll give you guys a second to hop in, ask your questions. If anybody's brave enough to go live, we'll put you on the video as well, and we will answer your questions live as well. Cool.
Apparently, Brian's trying to pop in. He's just trying to figure out the link. So,
copy
question soon.
Copy and paste, baby.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we got to figure that piece out. We're using this new piece of tech here, guys, because it's actually helping us broadcast at different places and get us more connection. Here's Brian.
Here we go.
All right, let's add him to the team.
Hello, Brian. How are you?
Whoa. What's going on, George?
What is that? Are you smoking? Are you in a cigar bar?
No, I'm in my garage. I got kicked out. My wife is on a training, so I got relegated to the garage. I figured I might have a cigar.
Nice. I love it, man. I love it. So Brian, you're running a high-level team. George running a high-level team. What can we chat about? What do you want to talk about?
So I guess I missed the beginning of this conversation, but did you guys talk about training new reps and hiring and onboarding reps, growing the team?
What kind of reps?
Acquisition reps.
Like in-home guys or phone guys?
Well, both really. So you're still doing like in-person contracts and all, right, George? Or yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, how does that process work? Do they start on the phones and then end up in person, or using like call centers, or how's that work?
So I haven't hired anybody directly off the street into an acquisitions role ever. Frankly, everyone that's on the team now started out doing something else and now they're there, or people that have been there in the past I knew from a window company that I used to work for and sort of like gave them a shot. And really only one of them was really good at that. The other two, one of them was like mediocre and the other one was like a complete waste of time and money. And lesson learned, right? So training them is hard, and frankly, I have not done a great job doing that ongoing. A a big reason that they're good now is because of the character quality of the people that are in that role now. Character quality meaning they're hard workers, they study on their own, they want to succeed, they're open-minded to like what works and not necessarily just like, well, I just do things this way and that's how I do them. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like, you know, like, I'm sorry, that plays a factor. Like everyone's got an ego. I do. I think you need one to do this type of thing. You just do. But, you know, there's an element of like evidence-based stuff in it, right? So like, you know, I want to do stuff that works is because I want to make money, right? So like everyone's sort of like on that boat, so to speak. There's also a strong element of a little ruthlessness, right? You got to be a little ruthless to do this stuff, because, you know, otherwise, you know, you're going to make a deal with somebody and then you're like, all right, let me just give you another 15K. I know I'm making a really good deal. Like you can't go into this not thinking that you're doing right by people, like helping them out, moving on. Like we do a lot of extra services for people, like way beyond just fucking like doing their house. Like we'll do fucking legal work. Like we help people move. Like we do all kinds of shit. You know, but like, and plus like most of the people that are out there that we're competing against are like idiots. They're offering people too much money. They can't close the deal, or they're assholes. They're fucking assholes. You know, so like, you know, we know that going into it, but to answer your question, like the majority of my recruiting efforts now are for the call center folks, as are the majority of the training stuff. I know a little bit about those things, but if you're training outside reps or hiring for outside reps, they need to be $100,000 or better a year people, which is hard to filter for. You need to hire a bunch of them at once to see if any of them are going to work out. You just do, unfortunately. You need to use a script or a bullet pointed methodology. You have to, and you have to ruthlessly enforce adherence to that while someone's getting their training wheels on for the first 60 days or 6 months, especially if they're coming directly into it. You cannot rely on them having previous experience. Like, you know, you can't just be like, oh, this guy's a hitter for this other company, I'll hire him for mine. This guy sells janitorial supplies, whatever, he'll be good. It's not the case. You need to personality assess them, see if you like them, and interview them multiple times. Make sure that they show up on time, make sure that they ask good questions, make sure that they shut the fuck up during the interview and ask you questions. That's a really good sign, right? You know, we're all in consultative selling, whatever they're calling it now. You know, dude asks you for the gig, you know, at the table walking out of an interview, that's obviously a good sign, things like that. But training you, lots of script, lots of role playing, going to houses, sending them with construction guys and all that shit. And then look at their numbers. Like you should know what I want. Like what should this person's numbers be if they worked hard, got it, and like are doing their job after a month or 6 weeks. You're going to lose 80 or 90% of the people that you hire for that type of role. It's fucking hard. It's a hard job. You're on the phone all day. You're driving around all day. You got to fucking put on a new face every time you meet a whole different person and be sort of a chameleon, like multiple times per day. Plus you have to comp it right. Plus you have to like know about construction. That's a lot of stuff. That is not an unskilled, like you can't just put a fucking retard, I should stop saying retard. You can't just grab a waiter from Longhorn Steakhouse and expect them to make $200K a year for you as an acquisitions agent. That Longhorn Steakhouse waiter might, but they're probably not, right? They have to hit all of those criteria. And even after that, you know, you got a 4 out of 5 chances of them not making it long term. That's just a reality. So you gotta like know that, like going into it, looking at it, again, know your numbers. How many people do I have to hire that meet what criteria do I need to have a pretty good salesperson that's profitable or a rock star? Because a rock star, you can't game that out. You get them or you don't, right? You want to make your money in the middle. Make your money with a regular, or maybe not regular, but like you make your money on like a good performing salesperson. If your whole business is based around a rock star, you don't have a business. That's just the reality.
God, I hope you guys had a pen and a notepad. I muted you earlier. Serious background noise. I don't know why.
Sorry. Like I said, I'm in my garage. So.
Are you guys hearing that as well?
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of an echo.
Okay. There was a lot of good takeaways in that last 5 minutes, guys. Holy crap.
Is that me?
No, it's Brian. I don't know why. He goes away when I mute him. Raise your hand if you want to ask another question, Brian. Do you feel like there's more money to be made in wholesaling or being a licensed agent? Kimberly, there's not even a comparison.
I can't answer that question. That's different for everybody. I know agents that make $1 million a year. You know,
I mean, there's like 10 of those in the country, but you're right. But they're out there. I've been in the real estate industry for 15 years. I'm a licensed broker, guys. I'm telling you right now, there's no money to be made like wholesale in the real estate business. There's a lot of, just like there are in wholesale, there's a lot of people faking like they're making $1 million, and maybe they're closed 20 million in sales, and you know, you're seeing them brag about that, but the net on that is nowhere near what a wholesale business can make. Matt Nash wants to know, what's the best lead source working today?
That depends.
Yeah.
How much money are you spending on marketing, and how many leads do you need? Do you only need one lead? You know what I mean? Like I need to do everything at scale. So, you know, like it's a little bit of a trick question for me. I think I'm going to answer this from the perspective of somebody that's doing 3 or 4 deals a year, or 3 or 4 deals a month, or whatever. So we're normally we write up, or in February we wrote up 22 transactions or 25 transactions. March we did, I think, 18 to, you know, dip with COVID, but, you know, still doing deals. Yeah. What's the best lead source? Direct mail, you know.
Yeah, I think when you're starting out, especially, it's just the lowest barrier of entry. You can spend money and make mistakes with direct mail, right? When you're spending 100, 200, 300, 500, depending on your market, for exclusive web leads, and you fuck up, well, that's a lot of money to be spending.
Really quickly, people get fucked up on the scale of direct mail. Like they'll send 500 postcards and they'll be like, "How come I didn't make any money?" Right? So like, looking back at my marketing stuff, so I need to send 2,000-ish letters or postcards or whatever to get an in-home appointment with a sales rep, right? And that's after scrubbing my list, after only mailing people with equity, after, you know, all that shit. So, and then, you know, I need 3 of those, 3 appointments, right, to get a deal. So now I'm at like 6,000 or 7,000 pieces. And then we lose some of our transactions because we wrote them up too high, or because, you know, there's some title issue we couldn't clear. So, you know, I'm sending like 8,000 to 10,000 mail pieces for one hit, right? So just understand, and, you know, I'm the big guy in this marketplace, or this market area, or at least one of them, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you're expecting to send 1,000 or 2,000 Facebook leads, or letters and make $1 million, like, you're mistaken.
Yeah, big time. Big time. I want to be respectful of George's time. Plus, I got a call here in a minute. I didn't expect this to go 47 minutes, but it's been good shit. Brian, you got any questions for George?
What'd you say?
Let's see. Brian's on. Let me unmute. See if Brian.
I have an anonymous Facebook user asking me about TV ads. It sounds shady. Who's that?
I don't know. That's the other thing I can't figure out, Brian. Sometimes it takes a second for them to pop up with who it is. I don't know.
Yeah. Let me see. Question really quickly. I just started advertising on TV, like yesterday. Wait, what day is it?
Yeah.
We just started advertising on TV like this week, like is when our ads started airing, and I have no idea if they're working yet. I think that they're going to. I spent a lot of money on them. But how do I evaluate the effectiveness of the ads? I'm going to see. So, you know, it's got a unique phone number and a unique URL. So in a month or 2, I'll see, okay, how many appointments did I get? And then how many deals did I get? And the number one thing that I'll look at is how many appointments I got. And I'll say, okay, how much did each one of these appointments cost me in advertising? And then I'll know, right? Going back to knowing my numbers. So if they're under a certain number, or if they're over a certain number, you know, that'll matter a lot. And then depending on what that is, after 2 months, you know, I'll probably have a little bit of a better feeling. TV is I don't have a lot of experience advertising on TV. I have a lot of experience advertising on Facebook and direct mail. A lot of the other lead sources I don't know a ton about, or like I don't know as much about. But like if it meets the metrics that I need to be profitable, or if it appears as though it's going to meet those metrics, I'll know that probably in another 2 weeks, like pretty definitively which direction that's headed in. I've heard TV ads can be very profitable, so we'll see. But they're fucking expensive. Good
I was
God.
just gonna say, guys, marketing is testing, and it's all fucking risk, right? Like if you're doing this, you got to
You got a little fun, you know what I mean? Yeah.
you got to test shit out. It might totally bomb for George. It might be the best thing he's ever done. But the fact is, once you start to make money, you have to test different things to increase the scale and to start to grow. So cool, man. Well, I appreciate you being on here. That was a lot of fun. Those that are watching the replay, ask the questions below. I'm sure George will still engage with you guys online. George Beatty, man, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for chatting. That was a good time.
Thanks for having me, Joe. It's fun. Always a pleasure.
I'll catch you later, man.
I'll see you guys. Peace.
Later.